Hello everyone, welcome to a new video for FET, SUI and render price prediction based on Elliott wave analysis. We're gonna start with FET on the daily to remind you, of course, with the highest possibility here, which is a bullish scenario where we have, of course, several bullish possibilities that it might unfold against, of course, a few bearish possibility. We have, of course, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here leading diagonal for wave 1, followed by a correction wave 2 and a potential of a double 1-2s, where the latest 1-2 here has hit perfectly 0.618, 0.786, a perfect golden box for wave 2, and then moving impulsively toward the upside. And that means, of course, we might be in a 1-2 formation here. We would like to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, simply continuation for wave 3, 4 and a 5 impulse toward the upside to reach, of course, the 1.618 here, $5.7 in an ultimate bullish scenario. Another bullish scenario is a W, X, and a Y. Finish 3 waves toward the upside. You finish 3 waves toward the downside again after it for a wave B in the orange scenario, and you're looking for a wave C as 1-to-1 Fib level to take the $3.65 for FET impulsively again 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Final scenario is a leading diagonal where you have a wave 1 as a zigzag A, B, and a C. This wave C is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where you have, of course, a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 that it might hit again the 1-to-1 Fib level or a little bit less, potentially to take simply the high and finishing wave 5, which it can be, of course, a zigzag, or it should be a zigzag. Now, the possibility here is a little bit lower since we see, of course, a huge scale wave 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5, and that if it unfolds a wave, an impulsive wave, that might mean, of course, a little bit hard to get a zigzag, that it might be, of course, smaller or shorter than the wave 3. Yeah, so based on the scale, we might get, of course, a longer impulse, which it might, unfold one of the previous two possibilities in the bullish. Now, in the bearish scenario, you have, of course, ABC potentially toward the upside, meaning even if we are corrective, we're still looking for higher prices. We have to seek after the 1-to-1 Fib level as a crossroad, of course, for the bearish or for the bullish scenario. This is the highest, closest bearish scenario that you might have, unless, of course, short term you did not finish yet this wave 1 and 2. You're still looking for one more leg toward the downside and therefore moving toward the upside for a wave 3, meaning the wave 2 here is taking time a little bit before unfolding something very bullish. Let's move inside it to check much more closer insights. On the 2 hours chart here for the bullish, where you have this wave 1 that we saw, of course, on the daily, you finished wave 1 or a wave A. We have to keep it in mind, of course, for the bearish short term. After this, we saw an A, B, and a C toward the downside finished here, potentially at the 0.5 level. I would say this is a perfect wave 2 finished here, and you're looking again toward the upside. Now, there are some issues and uncertainty here, what is going on after, which it should be basically bullish here. But what we are looking after this move toward the upside is a little bit choppy price here, which is much more sideways, I would say, and even taking one more high impulsively. However, this, of course, might turn into something corrective as a double zigzag and a wave X in between. And that means after you finished here wave 1 potentially as 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, you finished wave 1 or a wave A, and you're looking again at an expanding flat where you might have finished 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 currently. The wave 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 finished already. To finish this structure, you hit perfectly the 0.38 and you are very close to the 1.618 in common target, of course, for an expanding flat for a wave C. Now, before even hitting this one, we start to move toward the upside again. Very interesting on the 15-minute chart, where you are looking here at an impulse and then correction and then another impulse. Now, the problem is that it's still looking 3 waves toward the upside and not impulsive. Because if you are in a 1, 2, 3, wave 4, hit the zone 1, invalidation again. So again, we are in a little bit here in uncertainty still, knowing that the intention of the chart is very bullish, but on the micro level it's still showing some weakness to be ready to move toward the upside. What does it mean? It can mean that you might still looking a little bit corrective for lower prices before we start to move towards the upside. Very simple. And where we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you might turn into something WX and a Y, where you have 3 ways down, 3 ways up, and then 3 ways down again, potentially before launching this massive move towards the upside. What I believe is that we are very close in FET to unfold something very bullish. Now, definitely, this can transform to something bullish, which is, of course, a leading diagonal 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 can be very possible, guys. And having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 continuation simply towards the upside after this wave 1, ABC for wave 2, getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, simply continuation toward the upside. So I would say even, yeah, the uncertainty and the risk of selling it now is also a little bit high. And I would say, of course, be careful with your decision, what you do here, because still the uncertainty here, still, of course, leading the way. I would say here, if it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I would say directly, guys, be ready for higher prices for bullish. But of course, it's still a zigzag, and the only potential scenario here is a leading diagonal. Now, once we get this 5 waves up and we get those 3 waves down and continuation toward the upside, breaking this high, I would confirm very gladly, of course, a bullish scenario unfolding for new all-time highs. That was it for FET. Let's check SUI. On SUI, I'm gonna dive directly in the lower time frames here on the 2 hours chart. So on the 2 hours chart with SUI, we are looking at a very nice clean impulse toward the upside. Therefore, you finish wave 1 or wave A, and therefore the direction of the market is kind of like confirmed toward the upside, especially after this deep correction wave 2 hitting perfectly the blue box and of course hitting the 1-to-1 fib level from the W to the X to the Y. After this, we are looking at some movement toward the upside, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 potentially finished wave 1 or a wave A here. And that means whether you are impulsive already or you are in an ABC toward the upside hitting the 1-to-1 fib level 3.37. Now, what we saw, of course, after this correction, this small correction and this impulse here, we saw a wave 2 potentially hitting the 0.38, but not the fib time yet. And that is, of course, a little bit small issue since the time is not invalidation and not a rule, but it is a guideline and preferably to be respected. Now, we see, of course, 3 ways toward the upside, 1.38 finished and done, and potentially this can be your expanding flat unfolding here towards the downside. Now, for an expanding flat wave C, you would like to see, of course, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, what is going on here? Even it doesn't show an impulse towards the downside, and especially that now the price took the wave 1. In case you have 1, 2, 3, you have a wave 4 hitting the zone 1, meaning something else is unfolding. Again, uncertainty is leading the way here. Now we are looking at something very corrective and choppy on the lower time frame here. I'm gonna dive inside it. As you can see, we have potentially, of course, it can be kind of a leading diagonal, wave 1, 2, but where is your wave 3 after it, right? So therefore, again, something else is unfolding. It can be, of course, an AW, X, and a Y, A, B, C, D, E, potentially, and then moving toward the upside can be, of course, your highest potential scenario as bullish, but yeah, this is a very long wave too, right? And plus, we didn't see, of course, this correction finishing, of course, in the right place, which is, of course, in common target 1.618, where you would like to hit, of course, 0.38 at the same time, because this is going to play, of course, an ABC wave 2 in the yellow to launch, of course, a massive explosive wave 3 toward the upside. Therefore, of course, again, be careful at this area. We might still be corrective. We might still, of course, see one more leg. It might turn into W, X, and a Y rather than an impulse because, of course, of the invalidation. But yeah, and that is all due to the uncertainty, of course, of the market right now. However, the potential right now on the micro level is still showing weakness, and I don't see yet, of course, something very bullish unfolding, especially that I would like to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for example, 3 waves down, moving toward the upside, breaking the high, and confirming a bullish scenario. So yeah, we still, of course, estimating the situation and the probability still going a little bit for lower here due to the correction that we are looking at right now. This is for SUI, and I would like also to share with SUI KGT indicator a little bit for more insights. So for more insights here, as we can see on the KGT indicator, we can see, of course, we have a bearish signals here given, which is very, very much in convergence with the price action, which of course brings much more pressure toward the downside. And of course, we don't see any kind of a bullish signal yet given to be in divergence with this price action. However, I would say this is not so far to get, of course, a bullish signal sooner or later, but and that it create, of course, a divergence. Because if we go for the less or lower signals here, we can see a lot of bullish signals, and that's why we are looking at this kind of sideways. That is a lot of strength for bullish, and at the same time some pressure from the bearish. However, I would say that a little bit lower prices here will, of course, bring the CVD line toward the downside, and it might, of course, create some kind of like divergence for the bullish here with the signal, of course, unless if it is not invalidated, meaning if the price takes this low, of course, we cannot consider a bullish scenario, even of course if we take a bullish signal here. I would say the divergence should show up on a higher time frame, like the 15-minute chart, for example, here. Once we get this divergence, here we go. Once you see this divergence, meaning a bullish signal here on the 15-minute chart, if the price moves down, this will be a very good, of course, divergence for the bullish scenario, and therefore moving toward the upside. So far, we lack, of course, of this signal. We don't see it yet, even even not yet on the lower time frame, guys. We see even more pressure. Yeah. So we have to be careful, meaning our analysis here with the Elliott wave is, of course, perfect. Our fear or our risk management is in its place in this area. We're still looking for some pressure, so we have to be careful with it, guys. The final one is render that we are looking at it, of course, on the 2 hours chart as well. For render, since we are bullish on the daily, guys, for SUI, render, FET, all those main coins for this channel are very bullish toward the upside, very bullish for the daily. But currently, we are just estimating on the micro level. We are not bearish when we say, of course, it might still looking for a little bit lower. This is a correction and not a bearish scenario. Just to make it sure, of course, and to spread knowledge much more, and to not think that I'm bearish here. I'm not bearish. I'm still corrective, okay, for the wave 2. So basically, what we are looking here at the 2 hour chart, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, wave 1 or a wave A. And in this case scenario, we are looking at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to unfold toward the upside, or an A, B, and a C. Problematic thing is 886 taken, of course, for this wave 1, 2. Now, it is a guideline, not a rule. It can still unfold a wave 3 toward the upside, but higher potential here goes a little bit for a leading diagonal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 toward the upside. Because a wave 2 in a diagonal would love to take the 886 and of course can still be impulsive a little bit toward the upside for the 3, 4, 5 leading diagonal, which it might of course unfold something even much bigger. So basically on the lower time frame, on the 1 hour chart, after this bottom here, we see of course 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potential finished wave 1 or wave A. Is the same almost scenario for SUI and FET. However, What is different in render is that we are looking at a potential triangle A, B, C, D, and E as well. We have to keep this in mind. After this weekend range, we can see something like a triangle. And this triangle might mean, guys, much higher possibility for a wave B. So we have to be careful if the things are shifting to be an A, B, and a C. Don't forget the 886, which it might be, of course, something corrective. So we have to keep it in mind, of course. Now, this is not the only scenario here that we have. So also we can consider that we have a diagonal here where you might have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 finished a wave 1, meaning this wave 1 here can be finished, of course, over there. And what does it mean, this scenario? It means, of course, that you are still in an A, B, and a C toward the downside. And as you can see, of course, this A, B, and a C probabilities are very high, of course, for an ABC, and that due to the wave here. It is not impulsive. It looks like 3 waves rather than 5 waves toward the upside, bringing the characteristic of a correction here, ABC, and then moving toward the downside, still, of course, looking after potential wave 2 here, meaning A, B, and a C, and unfolding something very explosive toward the upside and impulsive for a bullish scenario. Now, I would say, again, of course, for render, still the potential looking for a little bit lower prices. We're not yet, of course, a very clear bullish. I would say, of course, again, 5 ways up, 3 ways down, continuation to confirm a bullish scenario here. I don't see this signal yet, and I still see, of course, some weakness, as I explained, and we might still, of course, seek after one more low to be bullish, guys, and not bearish. Again, I repeat, this is something corrective and not bearish yet. That was it for FET, SUI, and render. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your likes and comments, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.